Hey everybody, this is Jen. Welcome to the homestead and to my channel. Today I'm going to take you out to the main garden that I've had for 7 years now and show you how it's doing. For those of you who are just tuning in, I follow the biblical principle of letting the land rest every 7 years. So this year is the year of rest for a garden spot I've had for that long of a time. And some people are kind of confused about what happens when you let the land rest. You know, if it's just barren and desolate and nothing happens, and and some people are afraid that if they only have that spot to grow food and then they're supposed to let it rest, they won't have a place to grow food. And trust me, I was there. That was the only garden spot I had unless I grew in containers, but the Lord worked it out for me, so I have a brand new garden area. But I want to go ahead and show you guys what that garden area is looking like right now, because it might surprise you. So follow me along right here on Garden Jen's Journey. Alright, so we're walking into what has been my main garden area for the past 7 years. And like I said, this is the year of rest. You see all this growth in here? It's kind of cool. Some of it you may say, oh, that's a bunch of weeds and stuff like that, which is true. There's a lot of weeds in here. A lot of native things have come in here and grown, which will get tilled back into the ground either late fall or early spring. We'll see when my husband has time. But that's kind of the point, is to let just nature do its thing for the 7th year. And you're not overworking the ground, putting things new in it and things like that. So what's in this garden space currently, again, this is if you're new. If you've been following me, you kind of know the drill. But this area here to the left, at least is to my left, this is my medicinal herb bed here along the garage. And it's got mostly perennials in it, so they come back year after year. I don't replant these. And then I do have things that are in pots that I've put in here because, again, I needed a space to grow food without putting it in the ground and working the ground. So you will see a lot of containers in here. Some are empty, some are full. But yeah, I even have marigolds in container here. But yeah, a lot of stuff in here is either perennials or native plants have taken over for the year, including lots and lots of milkweed. I have been thinning the milkweed down a little bit, giving it to my chickens for food, because the monarch butterflies are starting to migrate out of here. So that's one of the things I do. Is this is a complete sanctuary for monarch butterflies to come and repopulate. I did raise one up myself. That was kind of cool. But I've seen at least 24 adult monarch butterflies in here since then, and so the milkweed has been very, very important to bring them in, help them repopulate. If you did not know, milkweed is essential to monarch butterflies, which are essential to the ecosystem, and monarch butterflies are dangerously close to being on the endangered species list. So a very simple way to help those guys out is to let milkweed grow in your gardens and just let them repopulate themselves and bring their numbers back up. Very simple fix there. Alright, so over here, this is my rose garden area, and it's hard to see the roses and all the weeds, but they are here. And if you are a very particular rose person, you might cringe at the state of my rose bed. But this year is the year of rest. And so I try not to do too much weeding. I do weed out the invasive plants. I've talked about that in another video. It's a very brief video about some invasive plants that come in here, and those will strangle out the roses. So I just pull those weeds out, but I let them be, and my roses are happy. They're not really competing for nutrients. They're still lush, green, putting out buds. So this is working. You know, again, if you're one of those who likes a pristine rose bed, don't look at this video. But anyways, all right, so I have lots of these. These are 25-gallon pots, and they're sitting on pallets, again, to allow the airflow in the ground underneath to breathe and just do its thing. And then I did have potatoes in them. I've got a couple pots I have to harvest right here, but I have so many potatoes curing right now that we're just letting them be. But I also have some flowers planted in them, some herbs and some other ones. I have some trees growing. Those ones I'll have to get cut down because they're right in the fence. But yeah, just panning around here. So look at all this growth. So letting your ground rest lets all this native stuff grow. And also things that reseed themselves, like this borage. I have borage everywhere, which is great for pollinators. And you can also eat it. So no complaints there. I have some mint in the back that's taking over that back area. But in the fall I will rip that out, so no big deal there. I have some trees growing here that I have to pull out. But again, just letting the nature do what it does for this year. Look at my asparagus here, this bed. This has been 3 years in the making. It's been very hard to grow asparagus because our ground has been very hard to work with. Very high iron content in this area, which ties up your nutrients amongst other things. But just letting these guys be, letting the asparagus grow up and produce the fronds that will drop more seed and produce more asparagus the following year, has been wonderful. So then my fig tree, this thing is almost an ornamental now. Our seasons are too short here for them to really produce. They have produced some figs, but not in time to harvest. So it's kind of more of an ornamental and just a place for the birds and other things to just hide in the foliage. So that's why that's still here. Then I have a maple tree seedling here that we found on the property. I put it in a pot so we can get it to grow, and we'll probably plant it either later this fall or in the spring next year. I don't know if you can see, this is my elderberries. And then, tucked in the elderberries here, along the fence, are grapes. And it's kind of hard to see because of the shadows, but there are a ton of grapes on this grapevine. So let me see if I can bring you in closer here. So, look at all these grapes. Isn't that cool? And they're wonderful tasting. My ducks are happy because I'm running the water. You can probably hear it. But I do this once every other day here because they do have a little pond to swim in, a makeshift pond. But they love having this right here. They just play in the water. Then I've got some black shrimp tomatoes. These are planted in pots. I have some stinging nettle in a pot. This is lemon verbena and a daisy, lemongrass. I've got some beans over here. They didn't do too well this year. The season's been really weird. So this particular bean didn't do the greatest because of the weather. Otherwise, you know, it's all right. I have lots of marjoram, cilantro, and some more tomatoes here. They are in pots. Lots of dill that reseeded itself. I've had quite a few swallowtail caterpillars this year. I've been growing this dill for 6 years, and this year was the first time that swallowtails finally made it here. which is really, really cool. So I just grow this dill every year. I let it reseed itself, and as long as it's not where I'm going to be walking or somewhere, I just let the dill grow. Just let it do its thing. And it's wonderful for the environment. But yeah, lots of wild lettuce is what this is called. I don't remember its other name, but it's called wild lettuce. And it's gone to seed. So it's going to be time to start pulling this out and feeding it to the chickens. But one of the reasons I leave it here, I don't know if you can see, there's a ton of bees and other pollinators on these things. There's a bumblebee right there. So yeah, that's another reason to just let nature do its thing. Look at this sunflower. I did not plant this here. This isn't usually one of the varieties I grow. Look at that head there. That head's at least 2 foot across from petal tip to petal tip. And she's 8 foot tall. So, again, I didn't plant this here because it's right in the middle of a path. And then I have another one right next to it. It branched out a little bit more. But can you see those bees there just having a wonderful time? And then tucked in here is my raspberry patch. This is a brand new patch I planted last year. And it's kind of like taking over the area, as you know raspberries do. So I'll deal with that at a later time. Then my marshmallow plant. I've already cut it down once because you really don't want marshmallow to go to seed. You want the flowers because the pollinators love flowers and it's good for them. But once the flowers start dying back, you want to cut it down when it gets to this stage here where the seed heads are forming. You want to cut it down, otherwise this will get everywhere. It can be invasive. But look at this. This is a 2-year-old hops plant. This is one plant I planted last year, and I got a little bit of a harvest on it because it was brand new. But this year this thing is just loaded. And this is only part of the plant. I actually have some. See if I can zoom in here. You might be able to see it already. It's grown in through my greenhouse. And then on the other side of the fence here is my one chicken coop for where I grow up my chicks and stuff. And it's completely all over the back side of that chicken coop there. So this thing is massive. And it has a ton of hops on it, which are just about ready to harvest. They're ready to harvest probably within the next day or so. I'm going to be checking them and start harvesting. So there is a lot of growth in this garden. A lot of growth. And it's not all bad stuff. You know, there's a lot of weeds in here. But also a lot of stuff that you can eat. I mean, wild lettuce is edible. Borage is edible. The dill, of course, is edible. The sunflowers, they are edible. The plantain, that's edible. And then the grapes, those are edible. So a lot of food is in here still. And then, of course, what I put in pots, that's all edible, except for the flowers the cosmos. I don't think you can eat cosmos. I might be wrong on that. And then, of course, the elderberries, those are edible, you know. So, just because I did not particularly plant food in the ground doesn't mean that there isn't food that's already been provided naturally. And it's really kind of cool. So, my plans are later this fall or in the spring. Again, depending on time and the weather, because my husband works full-time landscaping. We might start tilling some of this in, putting the nutrients back into the ground. It would be great to do it in the fall, that way it can compost down, and then in the spring, you know, everything will be in the ground, decomposed. And then we will start afresh, brand new, clean slate, with brand new garden beds and things in here, except of course for where the perennials are. Those are not going to be touched. So that's what a 7th year rest looks like for my garden space. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this walk through the garden. A little different this time because I haven't planted anything here in the ground. But I wanted to show you that letting your land rest can be a very, very good thing to do. It lets nature do its thing and you're not overworking the land. And if you let it rest, you are provided a blessing just as a token of appreciation from the Lord for following His wisdom. So I hope you found this video very beneficial as far as understanding what it means to let the land rest and potentially what your garden could look like when you follow that 7th year resting your land principle. So there you have it. Thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for being a part of this journey with me. If you haven't, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. Love to have you along on this journey. And as always, I hope wherever you are, you're wonderfully blessed. So until next time, everybody, bye-bye.